Hello, welcome to Find Your Flow. I have with me here today Barbara With. And listener, this is going to be quite the experience. I have the distinct feeling that we are on a long and winding road with this episode. Barbara is an expert channeler. She is here literally to bring peace to this planet, to teach us all how to be better human beings. And she does it through the art and skill and gift of being able to channel Albert Einstein. And as you can imagine, my science brain is exploding. My nerd heart is exploding. I'm so thrilled to pieces to have you with me here today, Barbara. I know I only have an hour of your time. I wish I had 1,000 hours of your time. Welcome to Find Your Flow.
Thank you, Lisa. As we were saying beforehand, I'm very excited about our conversation. Very, very much. And I just love seeing your nerdish brain explode and knowing where I'm about to take you and what happens when people go down that road. It's really a miracle. But thank you and hello.
Oh my gosh. So I'm already starting to sweat, which tells me that my channel is wide open. Why did I choose to wear a sweater? It probably is going to come off during this
sweater,
episode.
though.
Thank you very much. Barbara, tell me, let's start with I'm so curious. What does the word flow mean to you?
Flow. Well, that is the present moment of life. When you're in present moment, truly, you're in flow and paying attention to it. Of course, we're always in it, but how much our conscious minds are paying attention to it is, I think, what we're talking about.
And in there lies the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the majority of us, I think 100% of us at some point in time in our lives, we're not consciously aware of being present and having presence. And there, I think, stirs the pot of what then becomes burnout, feeling hopeless, feeling without purpose, feeling lost and adrift and drowning. So the whole point of this podcast, as a channeler, as a fellow channeler, I know these aren't my ideas. I was instructed one day. I woke up and was told to create a podcast. I mean, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing, but sure, fine. You tell me what to do and I'll do it. And somehow, through the magic of Google, I figured out how to create a podcast. And then it became, for many, many years, I've explored this concept of flow and flow through the human body. What does it mean on a cellular level? What does it mean on the biological level, the biophysical level? What does it mean on the spiritual level? What does it mean on the mental, emotional, all of these different realms of existence, what flow means? And Barbara, do you mind if I curse? Good. Because I was going to say, and holy shit, when they all come together in that beautiful moment of harmony, it's something that I think is divine in nature, but absolutely meant for all of us to be able to live in at all times. So this is probably a loaded question because it's going to bring us right into how the heck do you do what you do and how did you get introduced to Einstein? When was there a time where you were out of flow, where you felt like you were sort of forcing it?
For me, and this will get into my background, is that ever since I was 4 years old, that's when I started to teach myself piano. And by the time I was 12, I was writing music. So I have had this glorious gift of, even though I was living in a traumatized situation, that was, part of what made us artists and singer-songwriters, struggling.
The tortured artist, yes.
Yeah, the broken heart. But for me, there was something else going on that I didn't really understand because I was writing these songs. I was 12 and 13, and they were sort of goth. They were like, I will lead you, we will stand.
I thought you were emo before emo was emo.
It was like, oh my gosh, but what in the world was coming out of me? So the one thing I did pay attention to because of that, which I think was my divine gift, was being in the flow, albeit going back to the idea that just because you're in present moment doesn't mean it's just going to be euphoric.
Right.
And that's what I think people think, well, we just need to live in the present moment. Well, yeah, that's the start of it. But being in present moment can be tremendously painful, especially if you're a child who's being abused.
For sure.
And which was where a lot of that flow, I just had to get this out of me or I was going to go insane or maybe kill myself. And I ended up being this incredibly prolific songwriter. And at the same time, God swooped in, and my friend Mike at high school, his mom was a psychic.
Well,
And
shout out to Mike and his mom.
yeah, rest in peace, both of you. And he just came up to me one day in the foyer and said, "Hey, you got to see what my mom does." I was like, "What does your mom do?" "Well, you have to kind of see it." So he didn't really tell me. So it wasn't like I was looking for a psychic or I was looking for some sort of training in being psychic. But when I met his mom and she gave me the reading, I was totally changed forever. Because how did you know that?
Yeah.
How did
It's
you?
amazing that the invitation found its way to you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how it all works, listener. These invitations, they're showing up in every moment of every day.
They are on regular sort of everyday basis that we sometimes dismiss because we're looking for
Absolutely.
something bigger. And that ties into another level that we can talk about, which is I wrote this paper called Why the Secret Doesn't Work and How to Fix It, because
I love you.
I know. I love you
I
too.
do.
I love you too, my dear. And I'm a living proof because ever since I was 5 years old, standing on the mantle, downstairs with the hairbrush, singing Heat Wave, dreaming about being a rock star. And by the time I was 12, I was writing the music. By the time I was out of high school, I went right out on the road. I was on the road for 20 years, trios, duos, Barbara With band, weddings, funerals, gay bar. I mean, the whole thing. And I gave every ounce of my being. And it didn't happen. And now that I'm going to be 71 in a few days.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I can look back. And at the time, I thought I was such a failure because I didn't make a Hollywood or, whatever it was in the 90s, 80s, and 90s. But there was a different pathway because having readings with Eunice started to not only help me put together my fractured life, that was also, you can imagine, somewhat autistic in a way. I mean, I was doing all the, whatever they call it, neural. And so by the time I started automatic writing spontaneously during some of my writing, I knew what it was, but it was still a little shocking. Like, who are you? Because I was writing this angry letter to my friend telling her how bad it was to make judgments. That was me. That was my affliction of projection. It's like,
Sure.
You're so bad. And we all do it, Suddenly, there was this beautiful message because when you make judgments, you close down the lens of what, and you're only being able to see just a little part of it. So when you remove the judgment, you can open up and see a much bigger picture. And because that was completely out of emotional everything, I was like, who are you?
Sure.
And what they said was sound, right? And I thought, since 5 years old, sound is my best friend. So I'm okay. I didn't have to describe what that meant. What Eunice said was she and I were antennas.
Yes.
I just picked up information and I just have this talent to be able to open my mouth and let it translate into whatever beautiful thing comes out that means something to you if I'm channeling for you.
That's right. Yes.
And so I did that. I just thought I'm just going to do it for a couple friends. And then if they found value in it, they could pass I think I was paying $25 a reading back in whatever year that was, 1987. And everything grew from there. Everything was divinely guided to lead me eventually in 1993 to Kim and Teresa. And that's a whole nother magical story of how they came to me. But we decided to create the psychic sorority. And they were the ones they were best friends. And first Teresa got a reading, then she sent 6 of her people, and then Kim came and they were best friends in the fall. And I had been wanting to do a group reading because I'd never done that. And nobody that I had been reading for was interested, which I thought was weird. But then suddenly here was this new group. And that's when everything shifted clearly to this direction of a mission. The mission was revealed early on. And what they said was, when we came together, was that when Kim and Teresa asked, who are you? And they said, you can call us angels. And I was a bit objecting, a little skeptical, like, no, I'm an antenna. Okay. There's nobody else. But we decided that because what was coming out was so miraculous and it was so changing our lives to the so much better. And we were just finding our passion and finding our purpose and turning inward and doing the work together that we didn't really care because it was the fruits.
Yes.
And that was fine with us. So these angels said, we have this theory about how humans can first resolve conflict within their energy, where the byproduct will be world peace.
I'm giggling, and listener, if you're just listening and you're not seeing me, I'm like literally cover my mouth. I'm giggling because I've been given the exact same message.
I know, it's crazy.
Exact same. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, you're the first one. I have the psychic sorority is pretty huge, informally huge. So many women being the kind of intuitive divine feminine portals that are needed right now. And not that hasn't been men, but for the most part, it's that divine feminine coming into its power and sort of taking control of the operating system with the cooperation of the rest of it. So there's all that waking up like, wait, what's going on? I've got 5 arms. What do I do with all of them? But anyway, so we were delighted to think that we were the guinea pigs. We volunteered and were chosen, right?
No, sure.
And then we had our first conflict, and that we wrote about in our book, called it the Green Shirt Day. And it was the day that we changed it, where we had, it's inevitable. You have 3 women together, you're going to have some conflict. It's a perfect breeding ground for their experiment. And we met to do our level-headed metaphysical best to resolve the conflict that had been brewing between us. And of course, eventually it degenerated back into the it's you, it's you, it's you, it's you. But we're trying to be like above board about it, but clearly it's not working. And I had the wherewithal to say, hey, we just did this second master session, because we'd have these living room. We'd invite all our friends to come to the living room, record them, transcribe them. I said, let's get it. It was called conflict resolution. And I read, if you're involved in a conflict, the root of your part is within you.
Yeah.
And it took us a little bit to kind of cycle into that, to let that thing sort of explode in that emotional moment.
That's a tough pill to swallow. Yes. It's a tough truth. It is.
It is the toughest truth.
Yes.
However, we were set up in that the angels told us, okay, we have this theory and we want you to test it for us.
That's right.
And we
Settle
said,
down, ladies.
Yes, take me. This is so cool. And now here we are. And so to put it out there, and then we shuffled around a little bit like, well, and then something deeper took hold past our conscious thinking. Sort of, we called it a Satori moment. But it was where we all realized, because we'd all been there. We all bared witness to the fact that we said we'd do it. And now here we are. What are we going to do? And whoosh. And we're bawling. And I'm like, oh my God, here's what I can do better. I'm so sorry. I can do. Yes. I hate it. And then Kim was able to say, oh my gosh, you're so right. Here's what I can do better. And I'd never had an experience like that.
Amazing.
Have you? I have never had. Because I was the fighter. I mean, I was the one who always had to be right. And I'm whip smart, and I'm really articulate. And, I can prove myself right a lot of times easily. And so when that happened, and we had that moment, and I had to go to work that day. I was singing at a hotel in downtown Minneapolis. And
that's great. You have to get it together. You're bawling your eyes out, most likely on the floor, like rocking and writhing.
We're hugging each
then
other.
You have to get it together to be on a stage. It's fantastic.
But I never thought of it that way. But yes. I went there, and there was a waitress who worked there who was very cold. I didn't really care either way, because I've worked in so many clubs that there's some waitresses you gravitate towards and they like you, and others you don't even get to know, and it doesn't really matter. But she just never had anything to say to me, and she could not get enough of me that night. Barbara, do you like Patti Smith? I've got some cassettes I'd like to put $20 in my tip jar. And that moment was the aha for me of, if we do it here, the byproduct is that it manifests differently around us. So even though that's not world peace, whatever the name of
it's the start.
Yeah, that's it though. I mean, that's what I mean, is that it was the laboratory, it was the research that was just so equally important in this whole mission as the channeling was, that we had, the 3 of us, to actually have to facilitate, to test, to see if their theory worked.
Yes.
And then to see, I could never have come to that outcome with that waitress in the arena in which the conflict was taking place, as
For sure.
Einstein used to say. And so when I did it here, however that alignment to the flow, right, of compassion as
Yeah.
the fifth fundamental force of the universe, how it changes. And I'm not a Christian, and I mean, I love Jesus for different reasons, but I love that the idea that he would just walk through the crowd because he was so aligned to the flow that he changed what manifest, around his flow. So this was the beginning of conflict revolution, which is when I started training in 1999. I worked at a small nonprofit in St. Paul, and we're having some staff conflicts. So I said, well, I've been working with this thing and I haven't really developed it. Would you let me workshop it here with the staff as a staff development? And so that was the very first conflict resolution workshop. And they trained women in the trades coming out of jail and, underprivileged. And so they needed to give them personal empowerment courses and anger management courses. So I shifted to this, but it's grown so much bigger and wider and so many more stories.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I can tell you right now that I was told the exact same thing.
I love that.
Oh man, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, something like that. That it was when it was one of the first things when I first started channeling.
We'll talk about how did you first start channeling?
Yeah, so it was so gentle and it was so kind. I was a gyrotonic instructor and I had my own studio, and gyrotonic is a movement method.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you look at it just from the physiology of it, it is open the spine, realign the spine, the rest of the body starts a healing process once those neural pathways are opened. Well, okay, look at it from an emotional perspective. Open up those neural pathways, you're going to have a whole lot of trauma that gets processed through the active movement. Look at it from a spiritual perspective, you're doing a whole lot of healing so that you live more present, right? So that's what I was doing. That was my day job. And I loved every single second of it. And with every single client, I started getting, for the very first thing I experienced was I saw red lights lighting up on their bodies, just these spotlights and then I would hear, put your hand here, put your hand there, and the slightest of touch. And then all of a sudden I would feel the tissue give way. I would feel the nerve endings tingling. And then I would feel one end attached to the other. And then the whole body would unwind and the client would just start crying. Or they would start laughing, or they would start moving in a different way. And I was like, that's pretty powerful. I really like that. Fully aware that this is not me. This is not like Lisa turned into a superhero. This was literally Lisa is being told, do this, do that, and we will work through you. Got it, check. And then after a couple of months of working that way, I had a colleague who was also a mentor, and she was my Reiki master trainer, and she has all of these credentials. She has an episode. Her name is Kathy Wolf, and she was my very first episode because I love her so much. But she came into my studio space and she said, Lisa, do you have any clients? And I said, no, I just finished. I'm done for the day. And she's like, great. How about you come into my room? And I said, all right. Thinking nothing of it. I walk into her space. She's like, sit down. So I sat down and she goes, you have to learn to channel now. And I went, I don't know what you're talking about. And all the lights are out. It's pitch black in there. And she says, well, what you're doing. And I hadn't told her anything. She felt it, knew it. And then she was instructed, go get her and formalize this. The girl needs training, like enough already. And she said, so I've been told that you need to just formalize your process. That's all. You need to know who's coming through you. You need to know what you're working with and who's helping you out because you're on to something bigger. But right now you're in school and you're in elementary school and you're just sort of flooding around. And I said, okay. And she started my training right then and there and taught me how to sort of just close off all senses, sensory deprivation. And she was like, okay, so do you feel yourself sitting in the dark? Well, yeah, no doubt I'm sitting here in the dark. She's like, no, I'm saying, do you feel like no sound, no sense of feeling? No. And I was like, yep, all of it. And she said, now move yourself over into the corner. And I felt my whole being move to the corner. And this beautiful older Asian woman drop in and just start talking. And that was my introduction to Kuan Yin.
Oh,
Isn't that beautiful?
Kuan
And from
Yin.
there, I started automatic writing, which to this day, they were all of these channeled messages, which are this beautiful poetry and meditations. And I had a subscription service. And then one day I was told, okay, stop that. Okay, really sorry, guys, but the subscription service has stopped. Don't worry, at some point it comes back. I just can't tell you when. And then I started having to learn how to speak them, how to just do real time. And I was like, oh, this is a whole other skill set that, I mean, rocks you out of your comfort zone. And then, as I'm sure you're aware.
I know, I'm just loving this. Go on.
And then literally just in the last week, I start my day every day in meditation. And I ask, what is my purpose for the day? What would you like me to create today? And literally, it was less than a week ago. I heard start a Substack. Okay. Don't know that. Never been on it. Have no clue what I'm doing. But yes, I say yes. Take all of your meditations, start bringing them over to Substack. Start sharing them on Substack. This is where people will read them and receive them. And I was like, got it. Check. I will start doing that. And then it was crystal clear. And I say our, and I'm not included in that. I'm merely the means for which this all moves through.
Yeah. Go on, though.
Right. This is
you're
more clarification for the listener. I'm literally like a straw or a hose. Like, that's it. But it was our vibration will come through. Our frequency will be shared. And I said, got it. Absolutely. And throughout all of this time, from the very beginning until literally just last week, where it just sort of got this message and then amplified, it was heal one, heal all. Heal one, heal all. Now, years ago, I thought that meant one-on-one work with clients. Then the one became, I'm going to speak to just one person. Like these meditations, if they only reach one person, I've done my job. Like if I speak just to the first domino, everything is done. And that was enough. And then it became, oh, Lisa, you are the one. Heal the one and all heal. And I went, okay. So then it was a deep dive into what more could I do for me, my self-care? What can I clean up? What bullshit am I still running around with? What is even the unknown neural programming? What systems am I running in the background that could use an upgrade? And it's been continual that way. And now I understand, right? The more healed that I am, the more of a representation of peace I become in the world. And as a representation of peace, that existence, not me, the existence of representing peace inspires others to then go, well, who are you and how are you wandering around like that? And what works for you? And that's the essence of this podcast. What works for you? And what works for you may not work for me. That's okay. Zero judgment. You do you. Don't be an asshole, right? But you do you. Like, it's very, very simple. And the better you feel, the better everyone in your life is. It's that beautiful ripple effect that we've all sort of just forgotten about, maybe started to take for granted, and it fell off our radars. And now it's the time for it to come back. And yeah, I feel like I've been in training for well over a decade now.
And you've
and
just only just begun.
And it's only just begun. We've only just begun.
No copyright infringement, but well, see, what you're talking about is just the heart and soul of conflict revolution and the beginning messages that the angels were telling us in a very simple way. If you do it this way, you're going to see the synchronicity. I don't know if they said it that way at the moment, but you're going to see peace manifest around you in ways that are going to surprise you. And we get distracted by, that's why they always said world peace is the byproduct. It's a byproduct.
Yes.
You know,
it's not our goal.
Yeah.
It's just going to happen because you are your goal. Yeah.
Right. But we get distracted by the he said, she said of the how it's playing out in the arena. And the more of us who aren't trapped in that matrix, but who can observe it and be in it, but not of it, the more that embodiment that you're talking about, it's just like placing this, it's like Jesus he'd walk through people, they touch the hem of his garment, and the power of alignment And what's so beautiful and that you're going to love is that the simplicity of conflict resolution, it's so at the root that what you're saying about, I don't care how you do it. You don't have to do conflict resolution. But what it does is it creates such a rudimental system from which your very specific expression and process that you build for you can arise. So it's kind of below just teaching somebody how to do step-by-step instructions. However, it's so rudimentally simple that you're going to appreciate this, that so you rise and you're doing your meditation, and every morning, I have one too. It's thank you for another day of the most amazing life I ever could have dreamt up. Seriously. And then my intention to just work for the good of all and make it the most magical day I can. But then there's it's a 4-part system, and the first one is the witness that's going to be watching you, and then the other 3 are what we call the 3 human dimensions. So there's emotion in the solar plexus, intuition in the heart, and intellect in the brain. And the bigger system, the bigger unified field map that we've created by talking to Einstein, has the center of the universe in the center of the earth, and us being what he calls a compilation of consciousness. And there's a gravitational wave that goes through the earth to the surface, to the lens where our bodies are projecting and perceiving. And then the wave goes on till it hits the earth's electromagnetic field and goes back up over the North Pole, back down into the center to the compilation, and it spins at the speed of light squared. And so it's slowed down in the lens to the speed of light to create our reality. So he creates this system that it's really mind-blowing. And at the root of it, and this was one of the most profound things that took me a couple of years to process what I had just done, that compassion he named as the 5th fundamental force of the universe, that it's the creative intelligence that uses the other 4 fundamental forces to impel the creation of the physical world, the universe, one step at a time. And out of compassion, this whatever thing you can't really describe is incited by that desire to create, and that sparks, probably electromagnetically, the energy with the intention that then steps out of nothing and into everything and surrounds with this compilation, the mathematics of everything that human who's intending to manifest is going to experience. Just the whens, the time, it's all mathematics in that compilation. And then there's this spark that sets the gravitational wave flowing, and this gravitational wave between the center of the planet, which is operating like a black hole, by the way. And it's separated into these 3 human dimensions, the first being the emotion. It's that chaotic quantum level of, I am Barb, I'm a chair, it's emotion. And that, as it evolves to 2, right, is intuition. So the voice of emotion, which is the energy of compassion. We're made of compassion. So it's whatever message this compassion is bringing into intuition is for the good of the whole. It's for everything to thrive. And then as it flows on to the 3rd, and you get to intellect, this is where not only are all the thoughts, of course, that is a chair, that is a chair, that is a chair, all of that, creating that, but now the ego is born, and the ego has been given the power to facilitate the electromagnetic impulses. If, for example, intuition says turn right, it's the intellect area that makes the hand move and pull it. So ego is basically being given the power to say no to God from within.
Right.
And Einstein says that moment of rudimental conflict is where all the conflicts that manifest in the world are ultimately rooted, right? So when we align to the flow, like you're talking about,
yes,
we let all of our emotions flow because they're all part of the building blocks of it, and it informs our intuition. And then our intellect, which is normally thinking about the past or the future or making judgments about something else or just, all this if it's in that ready mode, which is in present moment, like what's going on around me, always listening for intuition. And I think probably this is how you and I basically are aspiring or practicing everyday life. So when in conflict resolution, your domain is your responsibility. It's not my responsibility. And my domain is my responsibility. It's not your responsibility. And C1 and 2. So we start out with, we're talking about you taking care of you. And when you witness, what am I feeling? What is intuition telling me? And how is my intellect operate? What's going on in the intellect? And you begin to understand just the simple things that
Kuan Yin.
Kuan Yin, sorry, I was going to say Lee, and I knew it wasn't that, Kuan Yin, about emotion. That we need to process emotion with our breath, not with our analysis, our Freudian analysis of, what's wrong. And then how to really know what is that intuitive urging. That's a big question I get a lot of, how can I tell the difference between my intellect and my intuition? Because I think, and it's well, first, this is in the body. Intuition is in the body.
Yeah.
And second, if your intellect is kind of getting in the way and you don't know, now we have the third thing we do, which is we go in there, and this is addressing what you were saying about how do you break the habits and the patterns that are drilled into us from our trauma. So we capture whatever in that moment, because we're going step by step, right? And whatever that message is, well, I can't do this, or she did that to me, or whatever that message is, and revolve it. So if you think you're right and you're still in conflict, well, maybe you're wrong somewhere. If she disrespected you and begins within you, then where are you disrespecting? Probably first and foremost yourself.
Yes.
If we're getting right to the root. But
I mean, listen, to the quick. Yes.
Yeah. But in different layers for people. Well, and we all work on many layers, but when you don't have an awareness or a system by which to watch what your operating system is doing, and then knowing what to do, you see this, how I've described it. It's very simple in so many ways. It's the hardest thing to do on the planet.
Well, heck yeah. Heck yeah.
So
that's become my modus operandi now. And listeners, it is by no means easy. It is simple, but it is by no means easy. And I say that because we're so used to, it's a habitual pattern to take what is in our heads, take what we are thinking, and pull it out and hold it out as fact. And what I tell clients all the time is, if you've thought it, that's the period at the end of the sentence. That's the end of everything that has happened elsewhere in your body. If it made it all the way up to your brain for processing, you're automatically putting some sort of filter on it. So if you can at that point go, to quote Taylor Swift, hey, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me. And you say that without any kind of victim judgment, and you just go, okay, that person is mad for X, Y, and Z. I have now made it a habit to say, that person is angry. Great. Where am I angry? How am I angry? How is anger showing up in me? How am I projecting anger? How am I creating anger? I automatically, and that is not victimizing myself. That is not making myself the martyr for someone else's behavior. That is an acknowledgement of, I create the world in which I live. And that right there, that angry person is an opportunity to see, where am I creating anger? And from where I'm creating anger. Life becomes these beautiful moments of opportunity. So listener, if there's one huge takeaway from this, it's that little, if you take one nugget, that's the nugget. Start to distance yourself from someone else's problem. It's so funny that you were saying, I am Barb. That's a chair. Because when I experience something that challenges me in every way, shape, and form, I go, oh, not my chair, not my problem. That's what I say. Not my chair, not my problem. I'm not going to sit in there. I'm not going to bring it into my house. This is not mine. Like, have at it. But that's your one nugget to say, first things first, that's not mine. That's yours, not mine. And then to say, isn't that curious? That person is angry. That person is resentful. That person is disrespectful. Whatever. Fill in the blank. And take out that person's name, put in I, and go, So if I am angry, why am I angry?
We call it hanging and dang, because it's like, dang, dang, like Taylor Swift, it's me. So we kind of got hang there and go, oh, and after all of these years, okay, I've been doing this since 1993. Okay, all of these years, I still when I'm facing that ego voice,
Sure.
go through that. No, I'm not like that. I'm not.
That's not me.
No. Don't you know who I am? No.
Right?
And then I just keep breathing through it and knowing that, like this last one, and I think this has to do with what you were talking about, our times right now, is that in the spiritual community, a lot of people have a high level capacity to understand, and it's a completely different skill set to then do.
Ding, 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 ding.
And I think what I see happening in culture right now, which then has been my revelation these past couple of weeks, is there's sort of a hypocrisy. Well, I say I believe these things, but when push comes to shove, I'm just going to blame someone else and then have a hissy fit so that you're distracted from the thing. I mean, it's just human behavior.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And so I got into some really deep places that pushed me further into my commitment to the peace, because we need that right now. We don't need people insisting on being right and pushing the hot to a hotter.
For sure.
And I just believe, and look at us. This is the first time we've met. And the angels used to say, there are so many people around the world in compassion, which is what the flow is. The true compassion, not the, one side of compassion or the, let's have compassion for our side. But you all can just go to hell,
Yeah, right. Right.
like,
because I'm righteous.
Yes, because I have the perfect reason why I hate.
Right. That's right. That's right.
And yeah, and it's hard to know how to confront that right now. I have some really sad stories about dear old friends, but I know in this time there's I'm also an investigative journalist, so I know way too much about everything. And
I love that. We can talk off camera for
yeah,
1,000 hours.
But suffice it to say, the conflict revolution basically addresses the propaganda in your mind about yourself. So even if it's as simple as, I can't do this, you've got this anxiety and you maybe want to do this passion, but your mind is like, no, I can't do this. I can't do this. That's propaganda. And I think because it originates in each individual and it's kind of just how we were raised.
Yeah.
Nobody taught us this. And so it is projecting out. There is a kind of this mass thinking, and I've been studying it, probably writing about it and studying it for about 10 years, the propaganda. And Matthias Desmet is a great author, Psychology of Totalitarianism. So that's just my background. And I love the conflict revolution addresses the propaganda of the mind, because I tried to go after the propaganda of the world, but there's no.
That was another thing that I was told many, many, many times over, is that no one else is our problem to solve. Like, it's just not. Our one and only job is to be our best selves so that we are literally the embodiment of peace, compassion. And once you're the embodiment of it, your one and only job is to wander the planet. Like, just go live your life in that state of truth.
Yes.
Then everybody goes, oh, wait, hold on a second. What is happening here? So even in the face of everything that we're looking at, I mean, on the one hand, I get it. It's horrific what we're seeing play out in the world. On the other hand, I'm like, look at what's crumbling down. Like, there's nothing worse than a toddler who like literally screams and rages against rules until they like collapse and fall asleep. But it's because they know they're not going to win, and that really pisses them off. And then they rage and scream until they fall asleep. The toddler always falls asleep. At the end, the toddler always falls asleep.
Do you have kids?
I do.
Okay, I don't have kids. So I never went through the whole mechanics of it, although it's very, of course. But
of the time, if you just hang tight and hold the perimeter, that toddler will fall asleep. And then when they wake up, it's like nothing ever happened. You splash some water on their faces, you get them a snack, and you recognize you were tired. Now you're hungry. Let's go outside. Like, we carry on, but someone has to stay calm. Someone has to hold the perimeter of peace. And that would be us.
Yeah.
And by us, listener, I mean you too, not just us who have been called into the work of it, who have been called in like the first whatever flank.
And listen, I was in the UK a couple of winters ago doing this big tour, and there's a place called the Aetherius Society.
Ooh.
It's a society. You'll look it up, Aetherius. It was a man named George King in the 50s who was visited by Aetherius, who said the same thing to him that we've been told. You're here to be a steno for this council of the intergalactic whatever, and we're here to help you bring peace to the world. But there's still, all around the world, they're still practicing churches, I guess you'd call them. And so I went there, and it was rigorous. It wasn't like, let's go sing hymns or just sing. I mean, it was rigorous, repetitive chants that you could feel they had been singing exactly the same since however they came about in this. But it was his birthday, and there was a video of him in the 70s. And they said, hey, George, what do you have to say about anything? And he's like, it's been hell. It's been hell. It's just been so hard to do this. And I thought, thank you, George. I felt like he was
really is.
Right to me. It's like, because anyway, and going back to the conflict revolution, because you just named mine when I said, I have to go and somehow educate this other person. And you're like, no, to me, then I'm being a hypocrite. Because I just told you what the ground rules were. Your domain is not my responsibility. You caught me in that hypocritical moment. And that's what I love about conflict revolution and changing the way our operating systems work, because we catch ourselves and now we're not doing those patterns.
Isn't that great?
And then they're permanently at a root. They've been eradicated. And now there's this whole new ability for us to do in these really tough times. Just hold the perimeter. That's all we have to do.
Everybody hold.
Stop.
Just hold. I promise you the toddler falls asleep. I promise.
Well, and I already feel that. I've been so attacked by people who love me so much during this difficult time. And I've held the perimeter, and I see them tiring.
Yeah.
Because when we don't become inflammatory and we don't
That's right.
prod the system into some kind of anarchy of, then what we're doing, I think, is it's the chrysalis, right? So there's all that disintegration, and something is holding that big gelatinous mess until it starts to, what is it that makes that big mess suddenly start to form into whatever the butterfly is? What's that moment between, but there's something surrounding it.
Right.
So it just doesn't disintegrate and, evaporate. Right. That's us. And you guys,
us.
Everybody can do it. Just get tired of fighting.
Yeah, and just recognize, like now I see, I don't watch the news. I don't read the news. I'm just sort of like, I don't know. It's not that I'm disinterested. I am disinterested in the delivery. That's what I'm disinterested in. Everything else, the essence of what is happening in our world today, now, is interesting to me. It's a curiosity to me because I see everybody's pain, and pain just manifests as anger. Fear is pain. Pain is the anger that winds up being a temper tantrum. So I look at it and I look at the angriest of people. I go, my God, the amount of fear you have. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? And I think it's a core question that, man, I would love to be able to ask everybody on the planet that one question. And you're going to get half the population who's like, I'm not fucking afraid of anything. And you know what I mean? Like, and you go, and there it is. Okay. Like, I mean, it is what it is right now.
It's kind of a formula. I was talking to my friend who's estranged from her children a bit. And everything that is being said, this is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. It doesn't take a great psychic or a trained psychologist to go, okay, so she's telling you it's always about you. You're always talking about you. You're always talking about you. Okay, so you need to talk about you.
Right.
So it's just a formula.
Just flip it.
Yeah. And then you can detach from it, and maybe you can gently help her.
Right.
Because you don't have to defend yourself, because that's not your domain. But then the other side of it is catching ourselves when we really are triggered by those things. And
yeah, for sure.
I think what feeds it is the synchronicity that results from when you do the work. It's
Yes.
bigger than anything we could create trying to go at it.
Yes. 100%. 100%. Okay, let's pivot.
I'm there.
Talk to me about Einstein. How did that happen?
Okay, so briefly, after we published our first book, Diaries of a Psychic Sorority, I had an agent in New York, and she got a call from a tabloid in London and wanting an interview with Princess Diana on the 1-year anniversary of her death.
Okay,
And
can I just pause?
yes.
I was married on the day Princess Diana died.
No.
No, like, I
That
mean,
is
and at our
somehow-
reception, we were all watching the TV. I vividly remember that. Yeah. However, thank you, Princess Diana. Seriously. And I'm not even saying this in jest. I'm not good with dates, anniversaries, birthdays, anything like that. I
Happy
now
to
know my
help.
wedding anniversary if I Google Princess Diana's death. That's how I know. Get a card.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Happy to help.
And I don't think that she would object to that. I really
No.
don't.
Oh gosh, no. No.
She'd be thrilled.
Yes. Very touched. But at the time, I was just beginning to have these experiences of talking to people who had died. And mostly they came to me and then said,
okay, yes.
Get a message to this person or that person. And then Teresa's mother, we figured out that. And in fact, I had introduced Kim and Teresa to my mother, and my mother suddenly became somebody else. She was just animated, asking everything she could about this person, that, what is it? I'm like, Ma, what the? And
she's like, I'm so unburdened over here.
yeah, it's like, and so I'd never thought of going to a dead person and saying, what? Hey, can I talk to you about a few things? And plus it was a tabloid, one of those, aliens and UFOs and stuff. And not that I was had any reputation to protect, but it took me a long time. It took me a long time. It took me about a week of and I thought, you know what? What's it going to hurt? So I sat down and channeled the questions and the answers by typing. And then when I printed it out and read it, I cried. And they flew me to New York, where they spent 5 hours with me. But in the same way that Princess Di wouldn't mind one little bit that your wedding anniversary is on that date, she had no mention of Charles or Camilla. And I, knowing very little about any of that, didn't realize that these reporters were looking for the dirt.
Right. They want, right.
And so even though they entertained me for 5 hours and asked me all kinds of questions about, what about this with Princess Anne? And I'd just go, whatever. I'd say something and they'd go, how did you know that? Anyway, they didn't want it.
I love that.
And so
not enough dirt, huh?
Not enough dirt. And plus her whole message was, if everybody who put flowers in front of the palace did conflict resolution, basically, we'd have world peace in a day.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was her message.
Legit the whole point of her existence.
Exactly. It just made so much sense. So Christina and I thought, well, now that we know we can talk to dead people in such a way, let's make a list of people we want to talk to. So we made this big, long list, and some people didn't want to. And the next person who did was Nicole Brown Simpson. And that was very mind-blowing because he had just gotten off a year earlier, too, at that time. And then by the time we got to John F. Kennedy, he said, look, this isn't your idea to do this book. This is our idea. We're a group that's been gathered. And from here on in, we'll tell you who's on the list. Because we didn't have everybody. I didn't have Einstein on the list. And
who would think to ask? Listen.
Somebody would. Right. You might. Somebody might.
Probably would have. I know. I stopped myself because I was like, Lisa, that would be you.
No, you would have. If you would have been there, we would have had him on the list. But because I had dropped out of science and math to go the other way with music and such. And I liked him. And I knew little basic stuff about him. And I'm not, what really does E equals MC squared mean? I don't know, or relativity. I tried. But when he came up, I spoke. So Christina was interviewing me and I was speaking. It was the voice of all of my readings.
I just got full body chills.
I know. I knew you'd appreciate that moment. And it was sound. It It was sound.
Listen, Barbara, that's the second time that you've brought up sound, and I'm just going to tell you very quickly. Um, about a decade ago, I had a spinal injury that left me in an instant. It left me without sight, without hearing, the ability to walk. And I was progressively getting worse over a 9-month period. And I had gone to see every doctor, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, I collapsed on the floor once again. And in that moment, I started asking, like, anything higher than me. If you believe in God, it was God. If you believe in universe, universe, love, light, whatever. I said, take the burden that is me. Take the burden that is me from my family, from my husband, from my children, from my mother, from my sisters, from my father. Just take the burden that is me. And I dropped into such a deep meditation, one that I had never experienced before. And it was a sensation in my chest that started off as this vibration. We're musicians, so I'm a cellist. It's as if you strummed a string, and it wasn't the sound, it was the vibration of the sound. That's what I felt inside. That got translated into light and color, and then sound. And that sound transitioned up out of my chest, into my throat, into my ears. And I experienced the words before I put them through any kind of intellectual filter. And the words that came through was sound healing, sound healing. And I said, I don't know what that means. And that same sensation, that same voice said, go online and type in sound healing. And I was like, that's great. I've collapsed on the floor. I can't see to type anything, but okay. And it said, reach right. I reached right. Somehow my iPad was there, because this is the way it happens. I opened up my iPad. I blindly type in. And at this point, literally all I could see was like a pinhole in front of my eyes. I see that something has come up, and I just blindly stab at the first thing. And what starts playing and filling the room was Ramadasa over and over and over again. And Ramadasa is a chant. It's an ancient chant for the nervous system. It is specifically meant to resonate healing to nerve endings. And I went, okay. I don't know how long I laid there and just listened. It felt like hours. But when I started to come out of it, I looked around and I had a little bit more eyesight. I had a little bit more hearing. Like, everything just started to get clearer in my ears. My view started opening up. And then I heard, go to Facebook, and talk about like that challenge. I was like, what? What are you talking about? What do you mean Facebook? So I was, moments before I was like, please just take the burden that is me. Anything, I surrender. I'm ready to go. Like, this is it. And I promise, if you just take the burden that is me away from my family, I'll do whatever you say. Like, I'm in that bargaining space. And of course, the first challenge, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, Facebook. And then I giggled, because it just repeated. And I went to Facebook, and the very first thing, and I've got like my iPad up against my face so that I can see individual letters. And that first message was from a woman in a group that I was not a member of, and I should never have seen it. And she wrote, it's the Easter season, and I want to help someone. Message me if you need help. And that same voice said, ask for help. And that was like, I didn't think I could get any lower than begging for my own death. And this was like lower. This for sure was lower. Shaking, sobbing, the humiliation that just started like coming out my pores. But I did it. I asked for help, because I was like, clearly I was not going to be left alone if I didn't ask for help. It was that apparent to me. So I asked for help. She came to help me. And she said to me, I know exactly what's going on with you. I know a specialist that you should see. She got me all the information. I called that night at 7:00 at night, and somebody answered the phone in this doctor's office. And the woman who answered the phone said, I was walking out the door and something told me to answer the phone. And I said, well, this is what's going on with me. I was told I could call. Maybe the doctor could help me. And she said, we literally just had a cancellation for Wednesday. Can you be here? Yep, I can be there on Wednesday. I show up on Wednesday. This doctor, so it turned out to be my atlas, the first vertebrae, had shifted to the right and then twisted forward and compressed my brainstem, my carotid artery, and my vagus nerve. So yeah, all of my senses gone. He used a machine that created a sound wave that moved my bone back into place. And within a half an hour, I was like, wait, what? I stood up independently. I sat up independently. He's like, you're going to need a neck brace. I was like, it's been 9 months since I've sat up independently. And you're telling me I'm going to just need a neck brace? He was like, yeah, you're going to need a neck brace. You have to take it easy, yada, yada, yada. 3 months after that, I had someone who showed up at my door and said, can you help me with the gyrotonic method? And I went, what? And that's when I started hearing all of these. You have all the answers you need. Everything you have, everything is inside you. Sound is very important. That changed
Well,
everything.
I think that just ties up our conversation in a pretty
Doesn't it?
sound. I'm like, sound. It's sound.
It's sound.
And you're like, it is sound. It is sound. Isn't that amazing? What a beautiful story.
Oh my God,
And-
I could tell you another. Go ahead. This is your hour.
Well, no, we have plenty. We'll have more. It's not like the time will end when the podcast does. I can come back and talk. But what I just want to say about the story you just told is that it's a good example, because I've been there too when I was channeling Einstein. I was doing the first book, Imagining Einstein, and he was telling me that the center of the source was in the center of the planet and it operated like a black hole.
Yeah.
And I had the same thing. It was like, are you kidding me? I have to go on stage in front of people probably who know way more than me. I don't even know. But it was that he go, Google black holes. Okay. Google black holes. Take these 3. So it sounds very suspiciously familiar. But just to round out, last summer in Barcelona at the Science of Consciousness conference, I spoke, and it was maybe one of the most nerve-wracking moments of my life, because it wasn't exactly on the 70th anniversary of Einstein's actual last manifesto that got read on July 9th, 1955 in London by Bertrand Russell. And it basically said, governments, please resolve your conflicts peacefully, otherwise no one will survive World War III. So that was his last words. Almost on the exact 70th anniversary, I stood up in front of this crowd. I mean, there was, I don't know, 150 people, but they had been packed into the series of paranormal stuff that they highlighted in that night in that room. And I was the end of it. And I was telling the story of, I have to go in front of the scientists and say it's a black hole, and 3 people pumped their fist. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You're so courageous. And I'm like, I am. I don't know. I'm just a steno, and I stay true to what I've heard. And so, yeah, it all comes out in the long run. I think the truth just, that's it. That's the power. It's not us. I don't think it's even compassion so much as the truth, even though the truth is that we are made of compassion. And if we run the operating system in the flow of compassion is when we make those byproduct miracles.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
I am sad to say that we are now over an hour, for Pete's sake. Barbara, I have enjoyed every second of this. I hope you can come back.
I will, absolutely. I have some specials. If somebody wants a reading.
So I was just going to say, please.
Go to Barbara Wick.
Share?
And you'll drop those in the link, but barbarawiz.com, and use the coupon code for a reading Einstein. And I can't remember if it's 50 or 40% off, but it's a nice discount. And all my books are over there, and the whole story linked up.
Fantastic. Before we go, all right, so listener, you just heard where you can find Barbara, how you can work with her. Barbara, before you go, is there anything that is wanting to come through? Is there any wisdom that anyone, including Einstein, would like to share with us?
I feel like we have said a gracious plenty. We have conveyed a lot of information, and I would love to come back and just do that.
Ooh, that would be fun.
Prepare questions for him.
Yeah, that would be so much fun.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it then.
Because I truly think that this entire episode's been channeled. Let's be very clear with that.
Between the two of us.
Let's be clear. Listeners, what you're not aware of is that before each episode, I take a couple of seconds with each guest. We ground and really open ourselves to allow ourselves to share whatever needs to be shared with you, the listener. So you receive exactly what you're supposed to receive in every single episode. This one is no different. The only way that maybe this differs is that you have had two channelers who got together today to be able to share rudimentary, I'm air quoting for those who are just listening, but rudimentary beginner information on what channeling is, how to channel, and how you can make a difference in your world and start creating the peace and the compassion that you wish to experience. It really does start with you. It does not start with you telling others how they should be. It really starts with what you can heal with inside you. So have the courage, 10 seconds of courage to make that decision to do exactly what resonates with you. All right, that's today's episode. Barbara, thanks so very much. I appreciate your time. I'm sorry we went over, but then again, I'm also kind of not sorry.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right, till next time, everyone. I'm a bit obsessed with money right now. And if you're anything like me, you are too, whether it's making more or holding on to it. But here's the thing. The problem isn't the money, and it's not a sense of self-worth either. I'm sure that you know you're worth a shit ton more than you're bringing in right now. The problem is with your nervous system. The bottom line is that you're really good at staying alive. It's what we're designed to do as humans, survive. We're literally hardwired for it. Now, so what does that have to do with money? Money flows. It's that simple. Money's an energy and it flows. If our nervous systems aren't calm, then money can't flow. If you're used to working hard, hustling, money can't flow without immense effort. If you can't hold on to money, it's not because of a lack of work, it's from a lack of capacity. So this is my obsession. Healing the nervous system to allow money to stay and flow with ease. Literally build the capacity to hold more. Establish the ease to allow money to flow with ease. And that's what the held container is all about. So if you feel like you brace for life, wait for the other shoe to drop, hang on until the next payday, or panic and avoid money altogether, this program is for you. It's so simple and so impactful. And if you just felt like I threw you a lifeline, lifted you out of a sense of drowning, then this is for you. Go to nagarelife.com to apply. The program is only open to 6 people, and applications are open now. Okay, that's it, listener. Before you go, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and set your notifications to never miss an episode. If you'd like even more with me, come on over to nagarelife.com. And if you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, go on and share it. Share it with somebody that you think would enjoy it as well. All right. I'll see you next time.